Good morning, everyone. I'm Miss Ranoco Maris Ivy, a second-year student of Diploma in Midwifery, and I'm here to present the Chapter 12 of the Professional Growth and Development, which is the due process. First in our slide is arrest. Arrest is the taking of a person into the custody in order that he may be bound to answer for the commission of an offense. This was the time when someone was being accused and being filed by someone. Then he could be arrested for a proper investigating or proper answering the accused. Next is warrant of arrest. Well, if someone was being arrested, he or she can be arrested by an officer with a warrant of arrest. But there are also circumstances if an officer arrests another or someone without serving a warrant. First is when in his presence the person is actually committing or attempting to commit an offense. Second is when an offense has just been committed and he has a personal knowledge of fact indicating that the person to be arrested has committed in it. Well, at the first and second, it's already been told that if this someone or another person know that the accused has planned or attempting to hurt someone or to commit crime, and then the second is when he already committed it, and then you to yourself have already know the fact that he did it. When then in that case the person or officers like police has the right to arrest you without serving a warrant, to answer, or also to be under questioned or ask some questions that related to the complaint or filed a case against you. Then third is when the person to be arrested is an escape prisoner. Well, if we already know, if you are already a prisoner, then you already been judged by the trial court or the Supreme Court, or already judged that you are yung napatunayan talaga na may kasalanan ka. That's why you are already called a prisoner. But in this case, when the person is arrested, when the person to be arrested is an escape prisoner, then the officer or the officers, the police has the right to arrest you without serving any warrant because you are already you already disobey the law by escaping to the jail, which is you're being punished by the crime that you did. Next is bail. Bail is when yung sinasabi ng mga tao na, ay, makakapagbayad yan. Ay, makakaano yan. Well, yes. There are some cases that offers bail. But, take note, bail does not apply to those cases who have strong evidence or yung may kaakibat talaga na punishment na reclusion perpetua or even death. They are not included to be bailed by the accused or by the person who been filed a case. This was just, and bail is just a temporary. When we say temporary, yung yes, you can have your freedom pa for this because it's already being accused pa lang naman or filed pa lang naman, going to face a hearing or a long process, but still you already been accused. It's just in the judge, which is who has the right to give the conviction of you if you're guilty or not. Then this bail is security given for temporary release of a person. When we say temporary release, you're facing a case, but you can have your freedom. And we have the next we have the court. The primary function of the court is to decide and pronounce a judgment and carry it into effect between two persons and parties who bring a case before it for decision. In the Philippines, I already have known three types of court, which is the trial court, the Court of Appeals, and the Supreme Court. And this function of the court determine a controversy between two litigants or disputant is called judicial power. Kasi dito tayo na part na pag when umabot na talaga dito yung mga trials, yung mga ganon, then the both side, we have the litigants and the disputant. They are the accused and the complainant. And this part, they can present the witness, they both have attorneys to face or to question or to defend the accused and to question the accused or to yung pagtanggol yung taong nag-complain and yung taong inaakusahan. In this part, in this place, what we call court. Next is our lawsuit. Lawsuit or action means an ordinary suit or ordinary suit. Alam natin yung ordinary suit. But still, a lawsuit in a court of justice by which one party prosecutes another for the enforcement or protection or a right or the prevention of or redress of a wrong. For example, we will be facing a lawsuit if we are doing yung mga incompetence, yung malpractice, we will facing them if we don't follow our scope of midwifery. The next is the plaintiff and respondent. The difference between these two are first is I will say they are the persons who's been in a filing a case or in a trials, the plaintiff and the respondent. Plaintiff or complainant, the person who files a case against another. For example, if you or if me or us in the future, we've been complained by our client that we done wrong to them, then they are the complainant, our clients, and then we are the respondent or the defendant, which is the person against whom the case is filed. Next is pleadings. Pleadings are the written allegation of the parties to the civil or criminal case of their respective claims and defenses submitted to the court for trial and judgment. Pleadings are those, for example, counterclaim or pleadings party, document disclosure, civil response. We have they are belong to the pleadings. Because pleadings include complaints, the counterclaims, the answer, the cross-claims, the reply, the third-party complaint, and other similar complaints. That was the pleading. Next is complaint. If we say complaint, then it's not just an ordinary complaint that sakit yung ulo mo, you complain that your head was hurting. No. Complaint is a civil action is commenced by filing a complaint with the court. It is a sworn written statement charging a person of an offense. This was a legal way for you to accuse someone by a written statement or a written statement towards a person who have been done an offense. Next is plea. In general, plea refers to the answers of the defendant to complaint the defendant may plead guilty or not guilty. Well, before the trial goes, first is the judge will ask that the defendant if he to himself will answer if he is not guilty or guilty of what the accused or what the crimes being accused to him or to her. Yung hindi pa kayo nagdedesisyon, kayo pa lang sa sarili nyo yung mag-a-answer na yung if ever ba na you did it talaga, then you feel guilty, then guilty. Or you're not guilty, you're going, even though you've done it, you still, yung dinideny mo pa rin. Yun yung not guilty na part pag ikaw yung mag-answer. But if you really do nothing, then you're not guilty. Then say it to yourself, you're not guilty. Next is motion to dismiss. The accused may file pleading for motion to dismiss the action made by a plaintiff of any of the following grounds. First is that the court has no jurisdiction over the person or of the defendant or over the action or suit. That the court has no jurisdiction over the nature of the action or suit. Di naman kasi, yung, iba kasi, di ba, yung, if we all know, if we just hear from our, yung parang may gusto ka lang mapatunayan. That is why you bring, even though it's so minor, you can just settle it in a barangay or by that. But to yourself, you have yung ego. Sometimes kasi ego kasi talaga yung nangingibabaw. Kaya gusto mo talagang dalhin ito sa korte. And the next is the venue is properly laid. Yung places, yung na properly laid. Tapos tapos yung mga ganon, tapos yun yung tinitingnan muna bago talaga nila hear yung mga cases, yung accusation, bago nila yan well, in that case they have a motion to dismiss it if the venue is properly laid. That the plaintiff has no legal capacity to sue, yung wala ka namang talagang, hindi naman sa you have no, di mo talaga kaya. You can, but legally, wala kang kakayanan na ano ba yan, yung sa Tagalog, yung mag-file ng case sa tao na against mo. Number 5 is that there is another action pending between the plaintiff and the respondent for the same cause. Yung pare-pareho lang, here for example, napag-aawayan nyo talaga, or for example of that is yung away ng magkakapatid sa lupa, yung mga ganon, yung mga pamana, which is actually that could be settled by a private na ninyong buong pamilya, but you choose to bring it, and then hindi pinansin, walang walang progress yung case, then na-dismiss na dati. Tapos you bring up again kasi nga gusto mo lang talagang linawin or gusto mo talagang basta depende na yun kung ano talaga yung gusto ng plaintiff. Tapos binalik niya, tapos nasilip yun ng court na this was the same case, and then dati na gusto niya na naman ngayong ikaso. Well, ganun yun, yung same cause, yung same reason, na paulit-ulit pero dinidismiss pa rin. Next is that the cause of action is barred by prior judgment or by statute of limitation. Then the next is that the complaint state no cause of action. Yung wala naman talaga, hindi naman sinasagot, yung pareho, may case nga, pero pareho both sides, di nag-attend ng hearing. Ilang beses nang rescheduled, wala pa rin yung presentation, ganon. that the claim or demand set forth in the plaintiff pleadings has been paid, waived, abandoned, or otherwise extinguished. Ito yung nabayaran na, tapos or yung waive yung parang ayaw na, tapos yun nga, yung lack of presence, lack of presentation, presence ng mga accused at ng defendant or ng complaint, yon. Then the ninth is that the claim on which the action or sue is founded is unenforceable under the provision of the statute of frauds. Yung false accusation, yun. Yung alam mong wala naman talagang ginagawa, pero dahil nga may gusto ka lang mapatunayan or you're so against them, that's why you're just filing this case. Then what is the term by that? Yung maling akala, yun yung palaging yung maling akala na turo ka lang ng turo, hindi mo naman alam yung siya ba talaga yung gumawa. Then, they have the right to give motion to dismiss of that case. Then lastly, the suit is between members of the family and no earnest efforts toward a compromise have been made. Then, next is our next is due process. Section 14 of the Bill of Rights of the Constitution state that no person shall be held to answer for the criminal offense without due process of law. For example, I've been accused by a malpractice. Hindi pwede yung uhulihin, tatanggalan ng lisensya dahil gusto lang. No. These have a due process. Yung may mga process talaga yung mga ganito. They will investigate if the accusation is true, find evidence, ganun yun. And then, hindi mo pwedeng ikulong yung mga taong naakusahan lang dahil nga gusto mong makulong yung taong yun. No. There is due process. Of a law means a law which hears before it condemns. Yun yung papakinggan muna bago natin siya i-judge. Yung ganon, yung we hear her explanation kung bakit niya nagawa, kung anong klaseng punishment yung dapat gawin sa kanya. Yun yung due process, which proceeds upon inquiry and renders judgment only after trial. Ang lahat po is according to a legal way is due process po yung tawag doon. Hindi po basta-basta ako, tatanggalan na lang ako kasi naakusahan ako without any evidence or hearing my side. Ganun po yun. Even in a small settlement, even purok or barangay, we always have those two persons who've been accused and the complainant to settle there first before yung mga ganito na, 'di ba? Kasi there's always yung parang galit na lang talaga ng ibang tao sa iyo, inggit, kaya gusto kanilang i-let down. Yun. That's why we have a due process. Kasi we should always hear both sides before we decide. Kasi ang pangit naman kasi na naaapakan na lang kasi yung right ng ibang tao if we have already given a judgment without proper process. Ganon yun. That's why we have due process. Next is subpoena. It's a process directed to a person requiring him to attend and to testify at the hearing or the trial of an action or at any investigation conducted under the laws of the Philippines or for the taking of his disposition. Subpoena duces tecum, in which a person may bring book, document, or other things under his control. Or subpoena is an invitation, hindi lang talaga, alam nyo, di lang sa birthday, weddings, or ano pang parties, may invitation. This is a legal form of letters to be sent in a particular person, an accused or being filed, even in a small legal yung process, yung mga ano, for example, yung purok, barangay, you always have a summon from them before before you will going to have kanang yung invitation yan para it's for you to answer them na ini-invite ka in a proper way para puntahan mo, may schedule yon yung mga ganun. But in this case, yung subpoena, it is a higher letter, which is you're being accused in a trial, you're being invited in a trial to face the allegations and hearing your side also. Then, pwede ka rin magdala ng yung subpoena ducesticum is pwede kang magdala to yourself the books, brain books, documents, or other things under his control. Yung pwede mong i-defend by that things, yung allegation. Syempre, you can bring those materials which is yung connect naman dun sa crime or I mean sa hearing as your evidence also or as your defend makatulong sa iyo na i-defend yung sarili mo, those things na pwede mong dalhin. The next is guide for midwife who is sued. Well, ito na yung sinasabi ko sa inyo. In the future, we are going to be a future midwife if we all know, if in God's will. And this is the guide for midwife who is sued, yung mga nakasuhan na midwife. Don't discuss the case at your hospital with anyone other than the risk manager. For example, you've been committed already, you committed already a crime. Tapos, or not you or your colleague committed a crime, yung mga ganun. Tapos, chismis yun, yung gossips, you know. Yung di mo dapat kasing i-disclose yung mga ganong issue sa iba, except those than a risk manager, yung mga talagang involved doon na pwedeng makapag-advise sa'yo or pwedeng makapagsabi sa'yo what to do or what could help you. But, don't discuss the case with plaintiff. Yung nagkaso sa'yo, di mo naman kasi pwedeng i-confront kung bakit kanya nakasuhan, for what reason, for that. You can't always do that to the complainant because it will just light a fire. Yung syempre, nag-complain siya kasi alam niya may ginawa kang mali, tapos i-confront mo. Syempre, yun, magagalit talaga. The next is, don't discuss the case with plaintiff's lawyer. Hindi mo naman kasi pwedeng dun ka lalapit dun sa legal advisor niya na, sir or attorney, di ko naman talaga ginawa, di ka pwedeng maganon. Kasi, pwede kasi yung ma-misinterpret ng lawyer kung bakit mo yun ginagawa. Then, fourth is, don't discuss the case with anyone testifying for the plaintiff. Kasi, pwede rin kasi yung masabi na sinasabotage, tinatakot mo yung witness nila or witness mo na ganun yung mangyari. 'Di ba? Then, fifth is don't discuss the case with reporters. Yung, alam mong, ano yung sasabihin mo, sasabihin din doon. Yun yung mga reporters, yung mga ganun yung, alam mong, ito yung sinabi mo. Yan. Tapos i-report dun sa kabila. Yun yung reporters. The number 6 is don't alter the patient's client chart. Yung erase, yan yun talaga yung first talaga na tinuro sa amin ni Ma'am Zamora na all records of a patient is legal. Lahat yun, legal yun. So, that's why, pinapractice niya kami ng erasures are not yung accepted pag may erasures. Kasi nga, once you erase it, meaning, may nakalagay doon na in-erase mo lang, which is yung parang questionable. Yun yung fact. Yung questionable talaga yun. Why did you erase it? At the fact, bakit mo nilagay kung alam mo naman hindi ka sure. Ganun yun. The next is number 7. Don't hide anything from your lawyer because siya yung magtatanggol sa'yo, or he would be the one to answer those accusation against you. Siya yung magtatanggol sa'yo. So, you should never keep secrets to the one who can help you to, yung hindi naman yung yung tutulong sa iyo ba na para you're not being judged or di ka mamali ng pagka-judge. Yun. Then number 8 is, don't go on the witness stand unprepared. Yung, kasi pag witness ka, you will always have that example, alam mo yung mga pangyayari na witness nga, 'di ba? Yung na-witness mo yung mga ganon. Or yung ikaw mismo to yourself, nalaman mo na may ganito, ganyan. Yung may knowledge ka talaga. That's why you've been a witness. But don't go there unprepared. Yung basta yung basta yung hindi ka sure, yung mga ganon. Hindi ka naman pala sure sana nakita mo, sure sana, then why offer you or being a witness, 'di ba? The next is, don't be discourteous on a witness stand. Yung mga pagsisinungaling, yun, bawal yun. Na meron ng bawal yun. Kasi nga, yes, you can win the case, but in your heart, in your mind, you can never win the conscience. If ever may nakasuhan ka na di naman talaga dapat siyang kasuhan or dapat talagang ma-judge. Yun. Or, number 10, don't volunteer any information. Yung, for example, may binarel. Even though putok lang yung narinig mo, tapos in the persons who are investigating, you give answers like, oh, nakita ko, kahit hindi mo naman nakita. Ganon. You can never give an information which is to yourself, you're not sure. Last but not the least, when you are uncertain, do not give answers and do not give opinions. Yung opinion ko, feeling na ko, yung ganun, ganun talaga tayo, 'di ba? If ever there was been, kahit yung sa mga simple cases lang nga, 'di ba, na, uy, na mali siya, yung ganun, mali niya yung nalagay na, mali yung nagamit niya, may mga mali, tapos, we ourselves, we always, tama, nakita ganina ko, we always that, yung sinusupport natin yung mga mali, which is also abiding the law. Yung mga ganon. Next is how to avoid lawsuits. In order to avoid lawsuits, a midwife should only perform those duties within the scope of midwifery practice and those who or she has adequate knowledge and skills. For example, there are also limitations. Yes, you are a registered midwife. But being a registered midwife doesn't mean na pwede ka nang mag-insert ng IUD kahit ganun pa lang, 'di ba? Or they are also yung reseta ng gamot, di pwede 'yon. Those are outside of your scope in midwifery. We all know that what are the scope of our midwifery practice. And we have the rights of that, and we should always put that in our mind that paglabas na sa scope, it's not our duties anymore. And for example, IUD, that is why it's always, not everyone can do it because only the skilled or yung practitioner, yung trained talaga na may mga trainings kasi yung mga ganyan. Kailangan mo muna siyang i-acquired bago mo siya gamitin or bago mo siya i-apply to someone. Ganon. Next is venue. Venue designates the particular place in which a court having jurisdiction may in the first instance properly hear and determine the cause or place where the case is to be heard or tried. For example, kasi nun, ako, Davao. Tapos, gustong mag-file ng client ko sa Tagum Trial Court, which is very wrong. Kasi, ang jurisdiction ng municipality, or it's not a national municipality, a city, it should always be in the city. If I do wrong in our city, then sa city ako i-hear. Ganon tong venue. Then, next is jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is the authority to hear and determine issues and fact and law, the authority by which judicial officers hear and decide legal controversies. Yan nga yung jurisdiction. Yung jurisdiction mo is cover, yung parang cover siya na mga by which judicial officers hear and decided legal controversies. Next is evidence. Evidence is the means of ascertaining in a judicial process the truth respecting the matter or fact. Kasi pag ganito yon, it always includes the evidence because you can never accuse someone without the proper evidence. For example, me, because I'm midwife or been accused by malpractice. Tapos, sa tamang nasa tamang process pala talaga. It's just the client who did not follow the instruction. That is why it became a conflict and ganun. Then, yung wala ka ng, yung may mga words yun na ginagamit, yung parang, ano nga ba yan yung kusahan ka na lang talaga. Kusahan ka na lang talaga. Next is jurisdiction. I already discussed it. Sorry. Next is kind of evidence. Number 1 is object of real evidence. Object of a real evidence is that if yung totoo talaga na evidence ng mga pangyayari. For example, yung pagnanakaw, yung pagpatay, mga ganon. Yung object talaga na ginamit, yung may tamang, tapos the next is documentary evidence. Well, the documentary evidence is the document as evidence consists of writings, yung mga ganon, yung may talaga na pinirmahan, mga ganon. For example, yung pagbibenta ng lupa, which should always have that documentary evidence, yung may pinirmahan, yung may mga ganon, or even not you can always fight of your accused, or you can always defend yourself if you have also these documents, yung mapapakita, maprepresent mo siya sa trial na may na permado, yung may mga materials containing letters, words, numbers, figures, or other modes of written expressions. For example of these contracts. Ganun. Third is testimonial evidence. This refers to the declaration of witness. And a witness can testify only to those facts which he has personal knowledge or hearsay evidence or repetition of what the witness heard from what others have said are not admissible. Yung sinasabi natin yung hearsay, yun yung narinig mo lang, tapos wala lang, nag-witness ka na kasi narinig ko, yun yung sabi niya, ganon. Other two kinds of evidence are the privileged communication and dying declaration. Yung dying declaration, yung mamamatay na, yun yung sinabi ng namatay. Yun. A privileged communication is a private communication made by a patient or to a midwife. Is a privileged communication. For example of this is yung sinabi ng patient sa akin, yun yung kung anong sinabi ng patient sa iyo. But privileged communication is inadmissible in court as evidence. Yun lang, pag privilege communication. Kasi pwede kasi yung sabihin na lang, sinabi na daw, kahit hindi naman sinabi. Yun. Yung dying declaration nga is the declaration of a dying person, provided such person knows that he is about to die. May be received in a case where his death is the subject of inquiry as evidence of a cause and surrounding circumstances on his death. It is a duty of the midwife who attended a patient that heard his dying declaration to record it, the patient's chart accurately and correctly. Yun. Excuse me. If ever may dying patient ka in the future or tayo, we should always, if that person want us to have to write or to record in our cell phones, it's always that we have always have this evidence, the dying declaration. Next, examination of witness. There are 4 kinds of examination: direct examination, cross-examination, affidavit, and false testimony. First is direct examination. Is the examination of a witness by the party presenting him on the fact relevant to the issue. Kunwari ako, I've been asked by the lawyer. That is the direct examination. Yung presenting him the fact relevant to the issue. Mismo ako, ipapresent ako ng lawyer na ako daw yung nakakita, I'm the witness, ganon. The next is cross-examination. It's going to be the person the person who is assigned to question me is the other lawyer, the lawyer of the complainant, and I am the accused. Then, I am the witness of the accused. Then the lawyer of the complainant, then he's the one who's going to question me because it's a cross-examination. Yung ibang lawyer yung magtatanong sa'yo. Then, next is affidavit. It is a sworn statement, yung totoong sinasabi mo na state nila in a written or declaration and writing made upon oath before an authorized officer such as notary public. For example, you say talaga na, sa witness stand kasi before ka nila itatanong or i-written pa nila yung statement mo if ever totoo or hindi ba yung sinasabi mo. False testimony is committed by a person under oath who says something not true or deny the truth at a hearing before a competent authority. This offense is also called perjury. Yung nagsisinungaling ka, nagbigay ka ng statement na hindi naman totoo, tapos suddenly sasabihin mo, aaminin mo na mali yun. Yung ganun, yung nalaman ng korte na di totoo, yung mga pinagsasabi mo. You can also be accused with a perjury. Ganun. Next is judgment. Well, judgment is the decision or sentence of the law given by the court of justice or other competent tribunal as a result of proceedings instituted therein or the final consideration and determination of a court on matters submitted to it in an action of proceedings. Judgment is yung you're guilty or not guilty. Yun na part. If napatunayan, then you're guilty. If napatunayan naman talaga na wala kang kasalanan, wala kang nagagawang mali, you're not doing against the law of this country, then you're not guilty. Next is motion for new trial. A motion for new trial should be made within 15 days from the promulgation of a judgment of conviction. For example, ngayon, before ngayon ako nakapag-judge na dismiss yung kaso, ganon, then you can always file after 15 days from now. Appeal. Appeal is filed by the aggrieved party to a higher court to secure review of a judgment order or decree of an inferior court. An appeal must be made within 15 days after the judgment is rendered. the part bringing the case to the appellate court is called the appeal is called the appellant, and the adverse party is called the appeal. Ito na kasi yung part na na-dismiss, kunwari na-dismiss or mali, hindi sila satisfied sa judgment ng trial courts, then they can always bring the case to appeal, but after 15 days, within 15 days. 15 days upon judgment na nalabas yung decision na or guilty or not guilty or dismiss, you can always appeal on the Court of Appeals. Next is administrative investigation. Article 4 of the Rules and Regulation governing the regulation and practice of the professional. Next is complaint. The complaint against a professional or an examinee shall be submitted in writing to the board concerned. Lahat ng complaint is always submitted to the board in a writing. Then, first is A, immoral or dishonorable conduct. Yung immoral, kabit-kabit, sali yan dyan, dishonorable, yung hindi mo in-honor yung yung nasa sa'yo. For example, you are being registered, gumagawa ka pa rin ng mga kababuyan, yung mga ganon. Yan yung immoral. Then, B is conviction of criminal offense involving moral turpitude. Then, C, unprofessional or unethical conduct. Same lang tong A, B, and C, but they're common in unprofessional. And they always in your attitude. It always depend on your attitude talaga. Nasa attitude mo yung A, B, and C. Then, gross negligence. Yun, yung katangahan. Always that, katangahan. E is incompetence in practice of the profession. Yun nga, yung lack of skills ka, yung ganon, yung hindi mo naman piniperform ng maayos. Yun. Use of or perpetration of fraud or deceit in the accusation of registration or certificate. Yung mga false, kasi when we say fraud, it's always false. Yung mga false, yung mga ganun. Insanity, alam na natin yung insanity. Yung pagkabaliw, yun. Or, for other relevant causes. Yung other issues. Summons shall consist of the letter subpoena requiring appearance of the respondent at a designated time and place, or letter requiring him to answer within the periods specified therein, and a copy of a complaint and its enclosures. Well, if we serve this summon is yung lahat na dyan, nandyan na yung lahat. Yung time, kung kailan mo siya kailan ka pupunta, you're being invited, yung bakit ka inaakusahan, at yung pangalan na nag-complain. Yun. Next is rights of the respondent. The respondent shall be presented by counsel or be heard in person, to have speedy and public trial, to confront and cross-examine witnesses against him, and to all other rights guaranteed by the Constitution. It doesn't mean na accused ka na, wala ka ng karapatan defend yung sarili mo. It's always have the right. Kasi nga, mayroon din ng mga accusation na hindi tama at hindi kailangan talagang masusing pag-aaral. Yun yung ganun. Yung kailangan mo talaga siyang we always investigate things before the judgment. Hearing and investigation. Unless the board otherwise direct for special reasons, the order of the hearing shall be as follows. Ganun, habang kasi it's always, before kasi talaga i-judge yung tao, we always have this hearing and investigation. Or yung midwife na nakasuhan, we always have that investigation and hearing bago natin siya i-punish ng nararapat. Then, petition for reconsideration. Excuse me. Petition for consideration shall be filed within 30 days after the receipt of the decision. A petition filed after this period shall not be entertained and shall be achieved without action unless the board, for special reasons which must be stated in its decision, decided to act on the petition. Only one petition or for reconsideration shall be entertained. Petition of reconsideration. Dapat ifa-file mo tong petition within 30 days and kasi after that 30 days, hindi ka na except lang talaga kung kailangan kang i-heard or yung may mga circumstances na pangyayari kaya na delayed yung mag-file mo ng petition for reconsideration. And that's all my presentation for due process. And again, I'm Maris Ivy Ranoco from Midwifery 2. And I will say thank you and God bless. And thank you for hearing and participating thank you for hearing and participating in my discussion, in my presentation, and this is all. Thank you.